Hello. I feel I have been on here on and off all day. So quick intro, Dinesh is? I'm talking in the third person now. So CTO at Civo, great passion for building products that scale, and joined by Saiyam and Josh here, who I've been working so closely with over the past 6 months on getting this roadmap done and getting it out there. So just really, really excited to be talking about the products. I want to start with, we got a clicker up here? I've walked off and walked back on. Thank you. So really, really quick intro to anyone that doesn't know about Civo. Mark gave a very, very quick intro to what we do, but we're a public cloud provider giving a solution that is faster, cheaper, simpler than other offerings that are out there. Thank you very much. So really, really focused on getting you a cluster up and running in 90 seconds or less. I know we've done a lot of work to get that lower and lower and lower, and we're really, really keen on that being a value add to you, because as a developer, getting something up and running quickly in your lunch break or testing is a great way to start. But we're actually seeing it being used now in CI/CD pipelines as well, where you can get a whole cluster, your whole application up and running in that and validating something really, really quickly. And the other two bits about simplifying and being transparent about pricing is key, again, to what we're doing. We're currently out in 4 regions. So we are in London, Frankfurt, New York, and Phoenix, giving you a good options of where to be hosting your data at the moment. Our main focus is on Kubernetes and a managed Kubernetes offering that is feature parity with any other provider that is out there, giving you load balancers, volumes, working with things like auto-scaling, external DNS. I think the auto-scaling is really, really key, given the conversations that we've been having today about the impact that you can have on sustainability and energy efficiency. And the auto-scale is a really, really key part of that, being able to turn machines on, off, back on again, and things like Keda that is out there in our marketplace to do predictable scaling as well. We also have object storage. This is a really, really fast NVMe-backed system that is in each one of our regions. Some of the announcements today about machine learning are really, really using the object storage and the speed of our object storage that is out there. We've got a managed database product. I'm speeding through these things. We've got a hell of a lot to announce, and I don't want to take any time away from Josh and Saiyam. So we've got Postgres, MySQL, backups, kind of what you'd expect from a managed database provider. We've got it. That's out there. Machine learning is something that we're launching today, and really, really, it's amazing kind of to see the speed of getting up and running with GPUs. We've got A100 cards that are available to use now. We've got H100 cards in the pipeline, and the announcements recently by NVIDIA about their L40Ss could be really, really interesting with LLMs and us being able to run these as local personal LLMs. These new cards could be a real game changer in how we do that. We also have a compute offering as well. So if you're not ready to be going all the way into Kubernetes, there's still the option of running compute workload. You just get instances up and running, backed by all of the same technology that we're running everywhere. So it's still really, really fast and really, really reliable. Some numbers for you. I think it's very interesting to see what people put out there, but obviously we've got 4 regions, 100,000 nodes launched, 90% is Kubernetes. And one of the things we've always heard through our journey is that, are we compromising anything to give you the speed of cluster launches in terms of, is it secure? Is it ready to scale? Is it just for toys? And absolutely not. Our largest customer has got over 2,500 nodes up and running. They're heavily using the autoscaler to go up and down. I think we've seen that go from 1,000 nodes up to 2,500 nodes in the space of minutes, and it's insane to see what happens, but we're 100% ready for production workload, and none of the compromises, we haven't made any compromises to get you the speed. Mark alluded to this earlier, and this is kind of really what I wanted to get onto today, is the partnership with Deep Green. So for those of you that don't know, Deep Green are providing a really innovative data center solution where they're allowing us to deploy compute workloads, GPU workloads around the UK. Their roadmap is to get 2,000 sites across various central city locations where we can host GPUs and compute and get that connected in a reliable Tier 3 certified environment. What's really, really interesting, though, is that all of the heat that is coming out of the compute and the GPUs is being reused in a socially sustainable way. So their first site that we're in at the moment in Exmouth is connected to a local swimming pool, and all of the heat that the GPUs are generating is being used to heat up a swimming pool. One thing that I was introduced to when we started the conversation with Deep Green that I didn't realize was that every 2 days, every public swimming pool in the UK completely empties their pool, refills it, and heats it back up again. Every 2 days, a swimming pool is done across the entire country. And that is just a huge opportunity for us to be reusing all of the heat that we're generating and that we're using day to day in compute to be put to real social good. The next stage of their project as well is to be putting these into housing and commercial units as well. So all of the heat that is being generated, not only now for pools, but also to be heating for hot water. And maybe not today, might not be the best day to turn the heating on, but we know that the winters can get quite cold here, and being able to have all of this reused heat is just incredible. So, panel I was just on was about sustainability. Deep Green are looking at doing minute-by-minute carbon reporting, and we're going to be exposing that all the way up to all of our users as well, so that when you have some workload running in one of these Deep Green sites, you know where your ESG is ready to go and ready to report. And excitingly, with the reuse of the heat, this is a Scope 3 negative site. I think carbon neutral is the term that we're going to go on to. I think I'm going to hand it over to Josh. I think you've got a slide or two on what it actually looks like, because I think we've heard about getting things in oil, but what does it look like?
Thank you very much, Dinesh. And isn't it interesting to think about what the future of data centers look like? And actually, our stereotypes we had around those big warehouses filled with racks of servers is now looking a lot like council swimming pools. And the really interesting part about how this all comes together is actually about how we hide that complex, sustainable solution by something that's really simple and easy to access. And I think the thing we're most excited about with Civo is actually starting to think about how everyone can be part of that journey and use it in a technical way. This is an amazing photo that I think does it justice, which is this is some of the GPU kit in its immersion, and you'll be able to see here that actually there's some really interesting server and hardware technology powering this that helps make this sustainable and high performance. Things like getting rid of the fans reduces the voltage, but also gives you a more sustainable and stable clock rate. Things we're really interested and exciting to start to broker out with Deep Green is actually how we can take some of these next generation graphics cards and GPUs. Things like H100s are 2 to 4 times the power usage of previous generation NVIDIA GPUs. And actually the question people aren't asking is, with me buying a product that uses twice as much power in certain situations, what am I doing to mitigate that and manage that? And Civo positioning themselves in the area where we can provide these sustainable solutions to you, hopefully helps take the heavy lifting out of these things with our partners. What I'm really eager to get down to is actually the amazing things you can do with these machine learning tools. And actually, you'll probably notice that over the last 9 months, Civo's been really busy transforming what we would do with machine learning. I'm going to dive into a little bit of it here, but tomorrow there's also a chance at 11:30 for us to dive into a bit more detail and ask some more questions. To kick off, who was at Tampa at the beginning of the year? Fantastic, fantastic. Who remembers me standing on the stage and making lots of shocking facts about machine learning? And you probably remember me saying things like 85% of machine learning projects end up failing, right? And actually some of these statistics, such as machine learning has low linear path and everyone takes a different pathway to it, that can be your superpower. I think the one that I still get bugged for today is, does it really take 96 hours of Kubernetes engineering to get a model into production? And I'm like, no, it's 96 hours for every hour you're spending. And these stats are starting to become more and more interesting. And from listening to our customers and taking some of the customer feedback from here is what we've realized. It's about bringing everyone on the journey, regardless of experience level, and actually being able to open that autonomy up if you need the power, but then also give you a really simple Civo transparent solution to be able to implement quickly. So the first thing I'm really excited to talk about today is actually Kubeflow as a service. I know lots of people have grabbed it hands-on, and actually a few of the customers have given me some viewpoints, like it's a really good development environment, and it's helping us iterate through machine learning so much quicker. We're still really proud that this starts at a $250 a month entry point, which we think makes it accessible for students and startups, who actually the competitors put a 10x figure on that and probably offer you less software choice. This is fully managed and auto-scaled, and the thing that we really want to make sure here is that it's quick to set up, launches in the 10 minutes that you're waiting for it, whereas actually some of our competitors' products take hours to turn on. You can get in, insert your idea, iterate on it, and get your insight, and get out, and understand how that analytical process can serve you instead of you spending your time configuring it. And I think the thing I want to put in here is no Kubernetes or machine learning experience necessary. And that's because I want people of all walks of life and any background to come step into machine learning, because the future doesn't look like lots of in-depth machine learning. It looks like you applying artificial intelligence to your problem. Alongside that, which we're really excited to announce and plays into the Deep Green announcement and some of the amazing infrastructure provisioning that Dinesh has been talking about, is actually we're excited to announce GPU clusters. And we're doing this in a very modern way that I think challenges some of the other hyperscaler solutions. Actually, the virtualization we'll offer will give you more access to the stats underneath the card and the configuration within that. We look at this as being, I'm an expert in Kubernetes, I know what I'm doing with the GPU, leave me alone. And actually, we want to make sure that while you've got a really low friction entry point, you've also got yourself a way that if I want to control every 1 and 0 and roll my own, I can do. What we're also extremely excited to announce, and we'll talk in more detail in the coming months, is actually Civo Recite. And Civo Recite is a really interesting first endeavor for Civo, where we're looking at how we can start to provide managed machine learning models that require no machine learning experience, no infrastructure experience, single point integration, and then you're blazing at full speed with the latest machine learning. Now, we look at this as being the way that you can add the most amount of value to your problem or solution in the shortest amount of time. We think this is something that we'll work with customers to iterate on and build. And actually, we've redesigned from the ground up for the Civo infrastructure and hardware that we're so proud to have built, and the Civo stack that we own proprietary. With that, Kubeflow as a service continues to grow, and we're happy to add GPU support to that today. What we're really looking at here is actually, if you're the type of person who wants to use a database as a service, as an object store, if you want to spend 15 minutes setting up your ML infra, this is a really accelerated way to do so. What this might not give you is the control over everything in your machine learning journey. So we look at it as being the exploratory, evaluative environment that you'd scale into. And you'll see a lot of the integration points here will allow you to go into production in a relatively slick way, in whichever mannerism you like, which feels very cloud native. Civo Recite has 0 configuration and setup to be effective, and actually complies with what we're doing with the Open API endpoint. Civo Recite is a version of OpenAI Whisper that we've rebuilt from the ground up. We have massively changed the way it computes and calculates the values behind it, and we've done some incredible efficiencies in the way that it computes results. We've then looked at how we can make sure that runs at the highest possible speed, horizontally and vertically across NVIDIA GPUs. We want this to be the same integration you make at one customer as you do at 1 million, and we want them to have the same experience and be able to grow with you. And this becomes something you don't worry about as a customer and receive the value from. I'm going to presume my video was meant to be there, but it isn't. But here you would see a video of where we would upload a file. And actually, what we were very happy to show is that a 10-minute audio file can be transcribed in as little as 7 seconds. And that continues to scale to the amount of when you look at trying to transcribe an hour's worth of video, depending on the bit rate and format, is it can be done in as quick as a minute. We think this is a really interesting opportunity, and I think it also puts pressure on some of the other benchmarks we have, like cluster launch times.
I guess, Josh, to snip in there without the demo, the curse of doing talks like this and saying record demo here. If you do pop by the stand, we do have it as a something that you can try. And Josh, I guess if you want to spend some time at the stand, maybe after this talk, and you can show people what's going on.
That sounds like a great way to do so, yeah. And I think the other thing we'd really love to show, get some feedback from you guys on, is actually how you would apply this to your problem. We look at this as a service, but we'd be really interested in hearing around how you'd solve it. And actually, what we're trying to do here is make the most powerful tool with the simplest possible entry point. We support 50+ languages. We're working on a variety of different ways that we can ensure that this works globally for different challenges and problems. We don't want the language your content is in to affect how easy it is for you to extract insights out of it. We include it into the regular Civo transparent pricing and fair pricing positioning that we put our products into. And what we really want to do with this is actually expand this into is where it can chain into other analytics. Things like text analytics and sentiment analysis could be added to the end of this chain to help bring this through. And when we're building this in a high-performance way, it gives you a way that actually you can rest your problem on Civo's shoulders. We'll help solve it, but you don't lose control of your problem solving. I think that's the important part to remember. So the last thing I wanted to say from the machine learning perspective is thank you so much to our customers over the last 9 months. I think it's fair to say that we've had a number of amazing product launches in the past few months. But thank you to everyone who's been giving us feedback and positioning for a lot of these products and how they come together. We'd love for you to continue to do so. You can see from some of the slides, if there's anything here that you'd like early access to, please reach out at that civo.io/ml, and we'd be happy to discuss your use case. I think as well, keep letting us know your expectations for what this space looks like. We really want to keep pushing this sustainable, effective, developer-focused type experience, and we'd love your advice and guidance on it. I'll pass over to Saiyam from here.
Yep, I think GPU instance is still there. You want to cover those? OK, so this is how the GPU instance looks like with the GPUs. So you have your same instance setup, which is there, and you give it a name, and you should be able to select from standard and GPU, and you should be able to get a GPU, and you can run LLMs, OpenAI, whatever stuff you would like to run over there. So coming to the fun part, it's the next-gen stuff that we are working on and some of the required things that we have gathered over the years from our customers that they need. So observability is something, we used to write the application in monoliths. Then we are turning into microservices. Microservices having their own set of benefits, but the number of microservices, it also increases that you need to know the traces, you need to know the metrics, you need to know the logs of all these microservices which are there. Then you are coming to the world of containers. And when we talk about containers, Kubernetes becomes the de facto standard. Now, when Kubernetes becomes the de facto standard, if you know there's a control plane node, there is a worker node, there are control plane components, you have your API server, you have your cloud controller manager, you have all those fancy things, scheduler, etcd. And on the worker node side, you will be having your own set of components, kubelet, kubeproxy, which are not relevant for your application till now. Till now, it's only the infra part. So as the hardware, the stuff where we are actually running our workloads, they are getting matured, but they need to be monitored. They need to be observed. You need to know where things went wrong and how things are breaking over there. And that's where observability comes in. It's not a new concept. It has been there since years. There are various tools out there for observability. But at Civo, we are focusing on solving specific challenges and giving a unified view and giving a unified layers on top of the services that we are having, plus on the application level that you will be able to achieve. So today, I'm excited to announce that Civo has been working on something called logging service. So Civo logging service is something that we are working on. And this is how it looks like. So logs are pretty much important everywhere. So even when you write any application, you want to know where stuff went wrong, you need the logs. std out, and you just see where the logs went wrong and how you can troubleshoot your application. Sometimes it might be a problem with the nodes, and you're not getting that connectivity or whatever that is. Sometimes it's a problem with the databases. Sometimes it's the problem with your application itself. So logs are pretty important. So Civo logging, as a user, you will be able to see both the infra plus the application level of log. Now, this is important because from our customers, we have heard that they need to know the control plane level of logs, because that is something which is hidden from you. When you create a Civo Kubernetes cluster, it's completely hidden. You just get the nodes, you run your workloads over there, you can't SSH into it. And if something is bothering you, or if you want to know some logs, or if anything goes wrong, so that you have the complete transparency, so you will be able to view the infra level logs. So you have a Kubernetes logs, we have a load balancer, so you'll be having the load balancer logs, the managed databases, so you'll be having the databases logs, plus the application logs, so anything that you are doing the STD out, all those definitely will be there. So these will be enabled out of the box. You can use the APIs to get the logs, the Civo CLI to get the logs. And then, now this is interesting because we are building a query layer. Now this query layer will help you not only search, filter from all the logs, but you can filter out specific nodes, specific pods, specific namespaces, and then you can also search within those logs. So you can filter by any specific error that you are trying to see, if there's database connectivity issue that you are trying to see. So you will be able to search on those level as well. So you have your search, and then you have your filters, and that's how it should look like. Behind the scenes, what we are using, there's a OTel collector that will be running as systemd per node. So all your nodes will be running that. So you have a tenant cluster. Tenant cluster is nothing but your Kubernetes cluster. So it will be running the OTel collector per node. That's the open telemetry collector. If you go to the GitHub, you will see the same repository. And we have a Kafka cluster, because obviously we don't want to miss any logs that is being sent. So Kafka cluster is there, and then everything is sent to ClickHouse cluster. And then it gets stored in the Civo object store. So Civo object store, it's one of those services that you can just have a bucket and just forget and keep adding whatever you want to add. It just works. I think that we are going to the open telemetry route, the Kafka cluster, having the ClickHouse cluster. So all these combination gives us the power to have a very strong logging service, logging solution out there. On top of it, the query layer that we are building gives you the power to search for all your workloads across all namespaces, that you will be able to fetch the logs and search for or debug whatever the issue comes in. And this is how the dashboard would look like. OK, I hope my video works, and it works. So you have the dashboard. So you can filter the logs. So when you search, you can see these are all logs, all namespaces that you are seeing. And you can see the warnings, so different color combinations are there. And that's the JSON, and you can have that, parse that container name. Now this particular thing you are searching you're filtering out by the container name, so demo container, and you can see there are a couple of logs from only that particular container in that particular time frame. You hit again, you refresh again, you search again, you'll see another log coming up over there. Next up, same container name, but we are searching for some error. So we only need error logs from the demo container within that time frame. And you can see we are able to get only the errors from that particular demo container. Same other set of filters, info, demo. So whatever logs contain demo, that will be shown in this particular thing. So you have search and filters that you can use. Now, interestingly, you can see that there are the database level of logs as well. So you can see it is trying to insert in a non-existent table. So it is able to show that level of logs as well. Interestingly, if you see such type of errors, it takes a bit of time to understand where things are failing. But with this, you will be easily able to understand it is trying to connect to a database, inserting over there, and still not working. Now, this is service name as load balancer. So as I told you, infra level plus the application level. So here you are seeing the infra level of logs from the load balancer service that we have. Now, this is specific to Civo, but we think it's important to give the infra level logs as well. So that's on a very high level how the obviously, it's in private alpha, so you can try it out, but we are soon planning it to GA. But this is how something it look like with a query layer. You are having your infra level, app level logs, and you should be able to search through it. And future, definitely logging to be available for GA, and other observability components is under R&D with metrics and traces. So we definitely are working towards completing the entire portfolio of observability because we think it is very key for your Kubernetes cluster or the workloads that you are running to have proper observability so that you can troubleshoot, get metrics, get traces with all the stuff that that Civo is always saying, with the simplicity, transparent pricing, and easy developer experience, you should be able to get with all these services as well. So that's the core. That's what we start at, and then we build on top of it. Next interesting thing is WebAssembly on Kubernetes. So how many of you are aware of WebAssembly over here, apart from Matt and Nigel? So WebAssembly is pretty interesting. And at Civo, we have been exploring WebAssembly a lot. Actually, first, we are trying to understand the hype. Then we are trying to understand, okay, these are the set of use cases. We have seen the set of maturity, been in working groups, WebAssembly working groups, the project ecosystem around there, the Bytecode Alliance doing a lot of efforts. WASMCon actually is happening in Seattle at the same time. So all these things we have been closely monitoring, plus we have been doing the research work on how we can provide, again, a seamless experience for you to use with respect to WebAssembly. Now, just to give a quick high-level overview of WebAssembly for those who are not aware of WebAssembly, this particular statement is by Luke. WebAssembly defines a portable, size and load time efficient format and execution model specifically designed to serve as a compilation target for the web. Now, this statement actually is, can be used all the times because it's pretty accurate how it explains WebAssembly. So WebAssembly is actually a compilation target. There are more than 25 plus languages which are supported, which compilers do support their target to WebAssembly. So what you do is you use your same tooling, which is there. You use your same cargo build, the same tooling that you have been used to, and you set the target to the WebAssembly platforms. So you will be able to get a .wasm file. That's how simple it is. Now, it is a universal bytecode that you will be able to run on any platform, any infrastructure, any cloud provider, any edge devices, the same .wasm file that gets generated when you create a WebAssembly module out of it. Now, you might have heard of WebAssembly before in the browser. So in the browser, again, we are trying to cut the hype cycle and fill in the important pieces over here so that it's critical to know it has a track record of being successful in certain areas. And then I'll come to the WASI side of things, why it is becoming successful on the server side as well. So in the browser side, these two are very famous applications. Like I call it as a major success of WebAssembly because they are pretty heavy, pretty big, Figma and Adobe Photoshop. So who have used Adobe Photoshop, like how heavy the software is. Now, you are able to use it directly online with the same smoothness, same native speeds that when you download the application and run it on your desktop. So running on the desktop is not something that they wanted. So that's where they have used the power of WebAssembly to give the seamless same experience of Photoshop to the browser. And people are using it. It's providing the near native speeds over there, working very smoothly. Same goes for Figma. There are a lot of other examples, like if you don't know, Google Earth also is powered by WebAssembly. And Google has been always, in like how to use the WebAssembly for this Google Earth. Also, a lot of games that you play online, many of them are powered by WebAssembly. So it becomes very easy. Not easy, but due to the factors of strong isolation that it gives you, near native speeds, language flexibility, polyglot applications you can build in your own language. And these set of features makes it pretty accessible and pretty neat to use in the browser. But whenever the technology is being introduced, it's like it's not only for that particular use case. There are hundreds of brains out there. They'll think, okay, where else we can use this technology? So then you have WebAssembly on the server side. People thought that strong isolation, yes, we need that. Near native speeds, yes, we need that. It has full security, yes, we need it on the server side. What's stopping it to be used on the server side? So in 2019, WASI proposal, which is the WebAssembly system interface, was introduced. WASI was introduced, and at the same time frame, Solomon Hykes, who's the founder of Docker, also tweeted that if WASM and WASI, now you think the criticality of it, how important that is. We are cutting the hype cycle here. So if WASM and WASI existed back in 2008, they wouldn't have to create Docker. That's a very big statement coming from the person who have invented Docker. So that's how important it is. And then he also stated one more statement that still blows my mind, how, like, these are the visionary thinkers. So he said that will be a future where WebAssembly and Docker containers, where you will be having WebAssembly, Windows, and Docker containers running side by side, and WebAssembly might be one of the most favorite containers that you run in your workloads, and Docker happily supporting that. And that actually happened last year, November timeframe, where Docker announced the support for WebAssembly. So now you can use your Docker desktop, you can use it to build your artifact, your WebAssembly module by specifying -- platform and stuff, and then you can push it to the OCI registry, and you should be able to get it there. This opens a lot of doors, and that's where I think we thought there's an opportunity that we can leverage, because how containers run is, you have your Docker D, and then you have your Docker D passes the container run request to the container D. Container D passes it to the shim. Shim passes it to the low-level runtime runc. So that's how the container runs. So the shim is the process that lives between the low-level container runtime and the container D. And that shim layer is being innovated in the WASM space, where you have run WASI shims. So you have different shims that you are having, and you can have different runtimes. And you can have a shim for WASM time, you can have a shim for spin, you can have a shim for WASM edge. So with different WebAssembly runtimes, you can have different set of shims that you can use, and you will be able to run WebAssembly workloads on Kubernetes as well. So what doors is open? Doors it opens is, you use the same tooling, so that your build tooling remains the same. Your Kubernetes cluster, your Civo Kubernetes cluster remains the same. And what if you can use Civo Kubernetes and WebAssembly, and you get, like, you create the node pool, and it is a WebAssembly node pool, and whenever there is WASM workloads that you want to run for your new set of applications, you are able to run it. And that's where we have been working on. So this is on a high level. It looks like you have a kubectl get nodes. There is a runtime class which will be there, and then you will be able to run your WASM workloads. I hope my next demo also works. Hoping is what we can do. Okay, so spin new. So we are creating an application, spin new, Rust application. We are giving it a name, navigate, and WASM on Kubernetes, editing, going into the folder, cargo spin source, is changing the source file, librs, and we do a spin build. And then we can do, you can see the navigate.wasm got generated. We create a simple Docker file from scratch, adding the spin.toml file, use the same Docker buildx tooling to build platform wasm, and give the registry name. It builds it. We then push it to the registry, so Docker push. And then we create a YAML file. So that's a simple same deployment that you have been creating. So navigate wasm, you have your runtime class that I showed you. You'll already have that. And then you have image name, name of the container runtime class, and all those things. You deploy it, you get the pods as running, and you can port forward it, and you can see, welcome to navigate from the Civo team. So that was quick demo on starting from creating an application from scratch. Actually, it's a 20, 25 minutes demo that I showed you in 1 minute. so it's a spin new application. Matt actually did a workshop on this on 1 hour to create a new application from scratch. So you can use the tooling like spin, to have those framework built for you and then deploy it onto the Kubernetes cluster that gives you the WASM nodes. Next up, we did talk about confidential computing in Navigate Tampa as well, and we are working on it to improve it and take it to the next level. So security in the cloud is like Kubernetes, definitely, we are using it. Recent breaches, that's the most important point. So the recent breaches have been from the vendor-managed components. So the components that are not managed by you are seeing the breaches by the hackers. Now, this is where we think confidential computing definitely plays a very important role, because you can have attestation, you can have a lot of things, you can run things inside Enclave that I'll touch on. But it is important to give the end users tools to protect their data so that they can run securely, whether it's machine learning, because of the data machine learning is generating. If it's healthcare, it has to be secure. If it's financial data, it has to be secure. You should be able to, even with any hyperscaler, you should be in control of your data that you're putting on anybody's hardware, especially for the finance, healthcare, all these crucial defense, all these sectors where this is actually very critical. So we have Intel SGX is the software guard extensions that has your code and data. It lets you cryptographically encrypt the code and data at the CPU level, and it also helps in the multi-tenancy isolation. So you run your workloads inside the enclaves, and it gives the attestation power to the users as well. If anything gets tempered, they will be able to know it. So current control plane is having two issues. So currently the isolation container level for managed control plane, and there's no way the customer can attest or ensure the isolation. Most recent breaches are at the management layer, the control plane layer. So the whole cluster gets impacted. So obviously, if you get access to the control plane, you get access to the nodes, and your workloads also are not safe anymore. And this is how it looks like. So you can see the current isolation via the container. So you have managed API server, API, controller, scheduler, all the components that we talked about. But when we come to the isolating components with SGX, you can see the control plane level components inside the enclave working towards the customers so that they can independently attest the isolation. So you have the enclave for controller, scheduler, API server, and attestation helps you to identify if anything changes within the code or data. I think this really helps in running and giving you or the user the confidence that what they are running is completely secure, and they are able to attest it anytime, any data that they are putting in onto the clusters. And the future is basically we are into the deeper partnerships with Intel for more Kubernetes components within the enclaves. And our vision is to have the entire OS inside an enclave, making the security focus best across all the providers. And that's what we are working on. I think that's the cutting edge stuff. So you have heard the cutting edge stuff for me. And again, back to Dinesh.
Thank you very much, Saiyam. Thank you very much, Josh. I think some hugely exciting stuff that we've been working for, and one demo didn't work, 2 demos did work. I guess that's the way it goes. But the recite stuff that Josh wasn't able to demo, I have seen, and it is absolutely incredible. So if you get a chance to go downstairs, please do so and find Josh, corner him, and get some translations. Was there something about doing Japanese in your voice as well that?
We're slowly getting there. If I can be honest with you, it wasn't good enough to demo today, but that doesn't mean we can't do it yet.
Yeah, corner Josh and have a look. That's quite fun. One thing that I think we have done before is talk about Civo Stack and edge deployments. So we're really seeing people repatriatizing cloud, so bringing workloads out of public clouds and into data centers. And something I've been talking about a lot today is the skills gaps that we're seeing from developers who are used to being consuming services like Kubernetes, API-driven, with autoscalers. And when you move that into a private deployment back in your own data center, these are features that potentially you lose. So what we do with our edge regions and our private deployments is give you all of the power of a public cloud in your own data center. All of the tools that we've developed, all of the monitoring, all of the scaling is ready to go. But with it being your own data center, you've got a real option of customizing what needs to be deployed. So if you're finding that you're a really CPU-intensive workload and you don't actually need a huge amount of RAM, we're able to efficiently size the hardware that we can deploy in your environment to make the most of your workload. I think as we're moving into a world where sustainability, power usage becomes really, really key, this ability to right-size hardware is going to be really, really key. All of the features we've spoken about today are enabled in these private regions. So GPU ready if you have got existing stock. I know we've been talking to some customers that say they're already stockpiling A100s and H100s, not because they're ready to use them, but because supplies are really, really short. So if you need the ability to deploy A100s and manage A100s to your existing staff, Civo Stack Edge is a really, really interesting way of doing that and enabling these usage of the hardware that you already own. Confidential computing is absolutely massive. We've been talking to customers with proprietary algorithms that are required to actually host this in their own customers' data centers or in edge locations their end customers are running. And the ability to cryptographically ensure that your proprietary code hasn't been accessed by a customer, or that the data that a customer is sharing with you and sticking it into a secure enclave is really, really powerful. And our ability to drop ship edge racks into these locations is something that we're getting a lot of interest at the moment. We are working also with different architectures as well. We have our rack that we normally have on stage and that we roll around is with a customer at the moment that is looking at deploying 160,000 CPU cores around the world. And we've customized that with AMD Ryzens as well. So a really, really interesting use case of changing off the cost of CPUs for performance and being able to put almost desktop grade CPUs for their particular workload was really, really attractive. So while I would love to have some flashing lights on stage, that's with a customer at the moment. But please talk to us if you're interested in getting, for example, ARM and the Graviton cores as well that are out there is something that we can put in these workloads. There are 3 ways that you can purchase this. So CapEx, where you provide the hardware up front, it is all yours. And then there is, we can provide that through the partners. I know Vesper is downstairs. They've got some examples of the kit that we will be able to deploy for you. If you're interested in that, please go downstairs, have a chat to them about what we can do. We can do that same model where we're deploying new hardware into your data centers over an OpEx model. So spreading that cost of that hardware over the lifetime of 3-5 years, depending on what you're looking to get. And then we also have a software licensing model as well. So if you have kit already at site that you're not able to use, or that you're looking to move cloud workloads back into a data center, but you're getting pushback from developers that they can't use it because it hasn't got an API, it hasn't got auto-scaling, it hasn't got load balancers, we're able to deploy our public cloud software stack on this hardware. Finally, I wanted to say a big thank you to the team. We heard a huge amount about team and team building at the keynote this morning. It was a really, really interesting talk about how to kind of organize and structure teams. We're at about a 35 level, so I think there's a pain point coming and a reorg and a restructure, and hopefully all of the faces still make it. I'm not sure. We'll see. But no, I mean, everyone has been working so hard over the past 6 months to get all of these features out. The blue shirts, these are from Tampa. If you didn't know, all of the helpers that we have around today are our staff members. So we're not getting volunteers in. These are our SREs. These are our developers from marketing, from sales. So a huge thank you to all of them for the work that they've done to get development done, and then all of the help that they're giving to all of you enjoying the conference out today. I think that just leaves 5 minutes for any questions, if there are. If not, I know that there's coffee next, so I don't want to, if there are no questions, it's fine. I understand it's getting late in the day, and coffee's coffee.
Can I just say, oh my God, this is brilliant, right? Little bit of a backstory. So Mark and the team are like, we've got some really cool product announcements, by the way. So when you're up here, can you just make sure that you get everybody excited and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, product announcements, okay. You didn't tell me it was stuff like this. I am sat in the corner there, I'm not lying, more excited than my kids the day before their birthday or Christmas or whatever. I'm genuine, I'm not kidding. That is some seriously cool stuff. I get it, like I'm quite passionate about WebAssembly and things, so I'm super excited about that. But the other stuff as well, just absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to ask, of course, the guys have done a good job presenting. We'll give them a round of applause for that. But I think this is really cheesy. I'm just doing this off the cuff, right? Nobody's asked me to do this. But the round of applause to be for all the work that's gone on this really cool stuff, because I like Civo as a company and what they do, really cool. Just got even cooler today on stage. So can we get a round of applause, please? Now, I know we do need to go and, hydrate and grab a coffee and stuff like that. Just one last call, just if there were any questions, I will run around with the mic. Here we go. Amanda.
Thanks very much. Hi, I'm Amanda Brock. I'm the CEO at Open UK, and I have a very quick question for you. WebAssembly. So I keep being told it's the year of WebAssembly. Last year, this year, next year. Is this year the year of WebAssembly, and why?
So WebAssembly, so the thing is, due to the security-first approach in the WebAssembly, things have been slow, and I kind of always say that. So it's under Bytecode Alliance. We have to keep security first. With the server side of things, so getting a bit technical over here, with the server side of things, you need socket connections. So you need certain aspects of WebAssembly which were not there. But the WebAssembly WASI Preview 2 solves that capabilities. The component model, which is very fancy, like you write a library and I use it, similar to Python that everybody writes, we import and we are able to use it. You can use cross-language component usage. I think these both, and component model is actually being discussed and finalized in the next 2 days at WasmCon in Seattle. So we will have a decision on when it is being published officially. So people are waiting on exactly these two things, the WebAssembly component model and the WASI Preview 2 to be officially launched. 2 days ago, there have been a new release in the shim that lets you run WebAssembly container and your Linux container inside the same pod. So that's happening for the first time, and it also opens a lot of doors for the other set of use cases. So yes, like WebAssembly on the server side is there from 2019, but obviously due to COVID and stuff like that, things have slowed down. Now, with the pressure of people wanting to use it in different scenarios, like Fermion is taking it to the next level by their serverless offering, partnering with us with the LLMs and the GPU stuff. Cosmonic is also working a lot in the WebAssembly space, providing a complete platform based on WebAssembly. CNCF and Bytecode Alliance working jointly to do a WasmCon eliminates the education gap that we were having. Plus, there were sessions today and tomorrow that we are having with respect to WebAssembly. So all these things are coming together. So I really like what Matt says. He has his diagram of the trajectory. So it's there to kick off. So that's where the small point that we are in, and then it will blow like the other Docker, Kubernetes, and these stuff are there.
Thank you. I can't not throw my penny's worth in on that, right? As an independent, yes, this is the year, but also is next year and the year after as well. If you think about, no, I just think if you think about containers, on day one, it was like just for net new stateless stuff. And it's gradually grown to become the choice or the best choice solution for so much more. And I expect we're going to see similar things for WebAssembly. We've got production-grade serverless stuff that it does now, but I feel like just going forward, it's going to become, your default choice for more and more. But look, coffees are waiting. So just real quick, if you are coming back to this room, okay, I'm going to recommend about 4:10. We've got a session on growing, engaging with, and supporting communities with Kim McMahon from Cisco. She's on stage at about 1:15, but if you get here for about 10 past. Aside from that, go and get hydrated, get a coffee, go talk to the sponsors and people that are downstairs. They're all super happy to talk to you, and we'll see you back a little later on. All right.